Rayzr. Hey, welcome back to Sketchin with Rayzr, and today I'm continuing to do my art study on the third PHP art style. Except this time, what I want to be focusing on, aside from doing dynamic poses that he normally does, is I primarily want to focus on the dynamic colors that he usually adds to his art pieces. And the character that I'm going to be drawing today is red-haired Shanks from the manga One Piece, which I seriously think has gone on for way too long. I was a kid when this first came out, and now I'm a crusty old man. Finish the story before I'm in the grave. Nah, but in all seriousness, I'm going to be drawing Shanks in a very simple pose. Well, it's going to be a little bit dynamic in terms of the camera placement, but in terms of the pose itself, it's just simply him looking down at the camera menacingly at all the peasants who would dare look up to his red-haired glory. Or something. I've always found this character interesting because he's always made out to be this very powerful character within the world of One Piece. And within the world of One Piece, the main power system is normally linked to devil fruits, at least initially. And these devil fruits, when eaten, would give people abilities of all kinds. Later in the story, Oda added something called Haki to his power system that practically negates a lot of the abilities that devil fruit users would have against other people. So now Shanks, who also has one arm, by the way, is now made out to be this very powerful Haki user with no devil fruits. And with just a glare, he can use his Haki to knock people out. In fact, one of the craziest moments with his Haki is during a time where one of the admirals of the sea is throwing hands with people in the country. I believe the country's name is Wano. Shanks partially unsheaths his sword, and he emits a shockwave of Haki, which travels all the way to the island, impacts the admiral, and turns him into a scared little punk. And it's like, really? Alright. But back to the art piece. So one of the biggest issues that I've had with this art piece, for some reason, is, well, drawing Shanks' face. I know this sounds weird, but whenever I try to draw a character from a known series, I try to look up references. I would normally, trace the initial reference to make sure I get a good understanding of how to accurately draw the character, and then I draw said character in whatever pose that I want. But the issue with Shanks, or I guess the issue with the art style for One Piece in general, the structure of Shanks' face is drawn differently depending on what medium you're looking at. The manga art style is different from the anime art style. The anime art style is different from the video game art style. And even within the manga art style, it changes throughout the years because Oda changes it throughout the years. All of these different references would have physical features that would represent the character itself. Shanks has a scar on his face. Shanks has red hair. Shanks has one arm. That sort of thing. But how it's drawn is always different, which made it difficult to get a good understanding of the correct way to draw Shanks. The funny thing is, I actually found a reference that was the exact pose that I wanted to draw Shanks in, but unfortunately it was from the anime, and as with a lot of the animators, when they're drawing a character, they won't always draw the character correctly in every single frame, which is what happened with the reference that I had. His face looks weird. Like the side of his face is all rounded and sloped down to his chin. I don't know. While there weren't the exact pose, I was later on able to find more references where the camera is placed underneath Shanks, aimed upwards at Shanks' face. Using these references, I was able to Frankenstein the closest that I think Shanks would look like at the angle that I was primarily drawing. But you guys can tell me what you think. But aside from that, I wanted to also add the effects of the Haki. And it was here where I realized through research that his Haki is, it has a red aura, but the sparks that come from the Haki are black. So it's kind of like black lightning with a red aura around it, which actually looks pretty cool. So what I did was essentially have those sparks around his body as he's looking downward, but some of the sparks that are closest to the camera, I made sure to blur it, being out of focus from the actual dynamic shot. Initially, I didn't think I pulled off the art style properly, and I still sort of don't. But looking at it now, I do approve, regardless of whether or not I pulled off the art style. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys have a good one. And make sure to keep your mind, body, and soul razor sharp.
Rayzr.